In the glittering heart of Lagos, on a humid Saturday morning, the Emerald Crown Event Center shimmered like a palace reserved for royalty and billionaire elites. Guests dressed in gold, champagne, and the deepest black silk filled the hall, buzzing with excitement. Flashing cameras and murmuring whispers spread across the space like wildfire. Today was meant to be the most extravagant union of the year, the marriage between Daniel Hayes and Caroline Mercer. But everything collapsed in the span of 30 seconds. Before the orchestra could begin its wedding prelude, the doors to the bridal suite burst open with a thunderous crack. Daniel Hayes, the groom, staggered into the main hall with a face twisted by heartbreak, disbelief, and a fury powerful enough to silence an entire crowd of politicians, CEOs, and self-proclaimed billionaire business moguls who thought their money gave them front-row seats to perfection. His suit jacket hung crooked, his tie dangled loose, and he looked like a man who had aged a decade in one breath. Behind him came Caroline Mercer, the bride, still in her half-worn gown. Her veil was crooked, her makeup dripped down her cheeks. She looked less like the luxurious daughter of a supposed billionaire and more like a humiliated little girl caught stealing sweets from the jar. Guests gasped. Phones raised. Even the security dog at the entrance barked sharply, as though sensing the emotional explosion about to happen. And then Daniel spoke, his voice trembling, shredding the air like a blade. "The wedding is off." The hall descended into absolute, paralyzing silence. The mothers stopped fanning themselves. The bridesmaids froze mid-step. A little boy holding twin balloons stood still, staring with wide eyes. The twin babies in the front row began crying in unison, as if even they could sense the heartbreak tearing through the room. Caroline tried to run after him, barefoot on the marble floor. She grabbed his arm desperately, her breath broken. But Daniel didn't look at her, only through her. The cheating, the lies, the billionaire façade, it all connected in his mind like lightning. And with one final glance at the crowd, he walked out, leaving her collapsed on the floor, her dress pooling around her like a defeated princess whose fairy tale had vanished. But the chaos that erupted in that hall was only the ending of a tragedy that had begun long before. Because the night before the wedding, at the rehearsal dinner, something had already cracked. Margaret Hayes, Daniel's mother, a 66-year-old retired ICU nurse, a single mom who had raised her little boy alone after losing her husband, had quietly arrived at the upscale Victoria Island restaurant wearing her simple green Ankara dress. She was the picture of soft wisdom and quiet strength, the kind of woman who had delivered babies, held dying veterans, carried paralyzed children, and worked night shifts to ensure her son could grow into a man without knowing hunger or shame. But Caroline had taken one look at her and walked over with a rehearsed smile. She pulled Margaret aside, under a pillar decorated with roses that cost more than Margaret's entire monthly pension. She leaned close, voice dripping with honey poison, and whispered, "After tomorrow, you're not family anymore. You never mattered. We don't need a single mom with no class embarrassing us." Margaret's heart cracked silently. She walked away from the rehearsal, wounded but dignified. She didn't fight, didn't scream. She simply held her shawl tighter, walked into the Lagos night, and whispered a prayer that her son would not be blinded by love. Because she had noticed something. Something dark. Something off. Later that night, her old friend Julia Sinclair, one of the sharpest lawyers in Nigeria, banged on her door with a folder thick enough to choke a crocodile. Julia was a widow too, a mother of twin girls and a little boy she had raised alone. And she came with the truth. Caroline's family wasn't wealthy. They weren't billionaires. Not even millionaires. They were drowning. Mercer Capital Group, the company Caroline's father bragged about in interviews, was collapsing beneath debt, fraud investigations, and a lifestyle they couldn't afford. The Mercers had lied to the entire public. And hidden deep inside the 40-page prenup that Daniel had trusted was a clause so sinister it felt unreal. 70% of Daniel's future income would be transferred into the Mercer Family Stabilization Trust, an account solely controlled by Caroline's father. The Mercers were not marrying Daniel out of love. They were harvesting him out of desperation. But that wasn't even the worst part. Julia revealed photos, grainy but clear enough, of Caroline entering a hotel in Abuja with her boss, a powerful CEO rumored to have a trail of one-night-stand secrets with women half his age. It had happened only 2 weeks before the wedding. And the source of the evidence? A young waitress who had recognized Caroline and believed Daniel deserved the truth. But Margaret refused to interfere, refused to break her son's heart, refused to shatter his dream. She stayed home the next morning, praying that fate would reveal everything before vows were exchanged. And fate did. The best man received the photos at dawn. He ran to Daniel, and in the span of minutes, Daniel's entire future twisted into smoke. He confronted Caroline in the bridal suite. She screamed. She begged. She blamed his mother. But Daniel saw the truth, and he walked out, leaving behind chaos, so loud it echoed across Nigeria's social media before he even reached the parking lot. Before we continue, if you're moved by stories of deception, survival, and justice, please take a moment to subscribe to TYCOON'S Ledger. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories like this to life. Now let's return to the truth behind the wedding that never was. After Daniel stormed out, the Mercer family panicked. Their billionaire mask was slipping. Their only financial lifeline, Daniel, had slipped through their fingers. So Victor Mercer, Caroline's father, attempted something insane. He tried to sue Margaret Hayes for emotional sabotage, for ruining the wedding, for destroying the billionaire family legacy. But Victor underestimated Margaret, and he underestimated Julia Sinclair, who had been silently building a case so airtight that even a billionaire with the best lawyers in Victoria Island couldn't escape it. Margaret handed every file, every photo, every email, every fraudulent bank record to a fearless Nigerian investigative journalist. A woman known for taking down corrupt CEOs and exposing fake billionaires who hid behind private jets they didn't own. And within 72 hours, the entire country exploded with headlines. Billionaire Mercer Empire is a lie. Groom's mother exposes hidden fraud scheme. Bride caught cheating weeks before wedding. Daniel Hayes narrowly escapes financial trap. Mercer Capital Group faces criminal investigation. Caroline's humiliation multiplied. Her social media following vanished overnight. The fairy tale image she had crafted crumbled like stale biscuits. Her classmates came forward with stories of manipulation, jealousy, and bullying. A former maid revealed disturbing recordings of Caroline mocking disabled people. A dog belonging to a neighbor had been kicked by her once, caught on CCTV, which now resurfaced online. Each revelation was another nail in the coffin. Daniel, broken but recovering, quit the high-flying law firm that the Mercers had lured him into. He returned to his first passion, protecting vulnerable families, disabled children, single moms, abandoned babies, victims of exploitation by corrupt billionaire bosses who thought money made them gods. He became everything his mother raised him to be: stable, compassionate, just. And Margaret, she transformed from a silent, broken single mom into a national symbol of dignity. One evening, as she returned home from a TV interview, she found a crowd waiting outside her small Surreal apartment. Not reporters, people she had helped over the years. A mother holding a baby she once saved. A single dad with triplets she had assisted during a medical emergency. A paralyzed veteran she had comforted at the hospital. A little girl who had survived because Margaret never gave up. Even a dog wagging its tail like it remembered her kindness. They came to thank her. They came to tell her she mattered. And in that moment, Margaret realized something profound. She was never just a mother on the sidelines. She was never not family. She was never an embarrassment. She was the backbone of everything good her son had become. The one color in the painting that no billionaire family could ever erase. The story could have ended there, with justice served and truth shining. But life had one more twist waiting in the shadows. Caroline popped back into Daniel's life with a trembling voice, claiming she was pregnant with his child. She demanded he do the right thing. But Julia exposed the truth again. Caroline wasn't pregnant. She wasn't even involved with Daniel anymore. She had tried to steal a baby from a waitress at a local clinic, hoping to use the child to reattach herself to Daniel's future income. It was the final thread in the unraveling of her lies. Police intervened. Victor Mercer was arrested for financial crimes. Mercer Capital Group dissolved. And Caroline, now stripped of wealth, status, and lies, finally faced the truth of her own making. She had lost Daniel, lost her family, lost her billionaire illusion, lost her mask. Margaret, meanwhile, walked home with her head held high, no longer the woman the Mercers tried to belittle or erase. She had become a symbol, a reminder that real wealth is integrity, real legacy is truth, and real billionaires aren't always the ones with the loudest bank accounts. Sometimes, they're ordinary single mothers who raised extraordinary sons. If you enjoyed the story, please like, subscribe, and tell us what you think in the comment section.